He's like, do you go with Suge? He's like, well, he's a gangster. You don't want to get. Do you go with Easy? You hear all the stuff talking about, oh, he was taking the money. So we thought, oh, we go with the church boy. We'll go with MC Hammer, but he was.
Fame is a double-edged sword, and very few people can really deal with fame. If you were given a choice between fame and fortune, take the fortune.
So you wouldn't think MC Hammer, the guy with the flashy pants and catchy dance moves, was a hardcore gangster, but plot twist. Some people thought he was scarier than Sugeknight. Let's dive into why this dude had such a rep. Stanley Kirk Burrell, born in Oakland, California, on March 30th, 1962, grew up in a pretty rough spot. His dad was a pro poker player and casino manager, while his mom worked as a secretary. They were packed like sardines. 6 kids in a 3-bedroom apartment in East Oakland. The family loved horse races and even owned some winning horses. MC Hammer had a rough start in East Oakland, CA. His neighborhood was all about drugs and crime. His parents split when he was 5, leaving his mom to raise him and his siblings. Hammer promised to stay out of trouble to not disappoint his mom.
Up in Oakland, one of 8 kids, in a neighborhood that somebody just described to me that now looks like the streets of Beirut.
But according to Hammer, if you grew up on the streets that he grew up on, chances are you might fall prey to the violent life. Before MC Hammer was known as a rapper, he had a rep for being a straight-up gangsta on the streets of Oakland. He was part of a rough crew called the BAN, Born and Naturally Raised. So there's no official record of him being a member of BAN, and Hammer himself hasn't confirmed or denied it. He's always kept tight-lipped about his street life. But if you ask around in the Bay Area or dig deep into the history of Oakland gangs, you might find some more evidence. At the end of the day, though, you gotta take these stories with a grain of salt. It was rumored that Hammer could throw hands with the best of them. And when he stepped into the hip-hop scene, he brought that same intensity to his rhymes. He wasn't just an artist, he was a force to be reckoned with. Know what I mean? So, something you should know about Oakland in the 80s, just like a lot of black neighborhoods in the States around that time, is that there was a lot of gang activity going on, and Hammer was no sheep. If for nothing, at the very least one would imagine he had to protect himself. Oakland's got a deep history with gangs going back to the late 1800s. The city's always had its struggles with crime and gang violence, especially in the 80s and 90s. Those years were wild with murders, muggings, carjackings, and drug deals everywhere. Things got so bad that Oakland was seen as one of the most dangerous big cities in the U.S. Hammer had connections with all kinds of people, including those involved in these gangs. When he blew up and got rich, he didn't forget his roots. He helped a lot of folks from his old hood, some of whom had gang ties. This support, along with his tough guy image, earned him a rep that made people both respect and fear him.
So we thought, oh, we go with the church boy. We'll go with MC Hammer, but he was the most gangster one of all of them.
I heard about it.
There's some gossip going around about MC Hammer's fortune vanishing, but it's not just because he splurged on golden toilets and fancy rides. Some say he dished out a lot of cash to keep gang members on his side and steer clear of any old drama. You see, when Hammer hit it big and earned all that loads of money and the fame, that level of success can draw some unwanted heat, especially from folks you used to roll with. As a kid, Hammer hustled by selling baseball tickets from Oakland A's players. He'd even do dance shows in the parking lot with his radio, showing off his love for dance and entertainment early on. One day, the team's owner, Charles Finley, noticed Hammer and gave him a job as a clubhouse assistant at just 9 years old. Hammer's dedication impressed everyone, and he eventually became a vice president for the team as a teenager. Young Burrell, always hustling, used to sell stray baseballs and dance with a beatboxer in the Oakland Coliseum parking lot. His moves caught the eye of Oakland A's team owner, Charlie Finley, who hired the 11-year-old as a clubhouse assistant and bat boy because of his crazy energy and flair. From 1973 to 1980, Burrell was a familiar face with the team. In a 2010 chat on ESPN's First Take, Hammer, yup, that's him, talked about his deep ties with athletes. He revealed that his brother, Louis Burrell Jr., later his business manager, was the real bat boy. Hammer's job was actually to take calls and do play-by-plays for the A's absentee owner, who lived in Chicago. Reggie Jackson mentioned that Finley used Burrell as his eyes and ears, and took credit for giving him his nickname. The players, including Milwaukee Brewers second baseman Pedro Garcia, started calling Burrell Little Hammer because he looked a lot like Aaron. Ron Bergman, an Oakland Tribune writer covering the A's back then, said Burrell was pretty much the clubhouse snitch for Charlie Finley. That's how he also got the nickname Pipeline. He got the nickname MC because he was always the master of ceremonies at various clubs while traveling with the A's and even when he was in the military. Hammer, who played second base in high school, always dreamed of going pro but didn't make the final cut at a San Francisco Giants tryout. Still, he's played in the Taco Bell All-Star Legends and Celebrity Softball game, repping Oakland with his A's cap.
My nickname the Hammer because of my resemblance when I was very small to Hank Aaron, the Big Hammer. So everyone was calling me the Little Hammer. The guys on the Oakland A's when I was the bat boy for the Oakland A's, and I kept the name.
But after getting discouraged with his studies and not making it into pro baseball, he joined the Navy for 3 years. Hammer graduated from McClymonds High School in Oakland in 1980 and took some communications classes in college, but apparently wasn't feeling it. He joined the Navy for a few years. He served as a petty officer third-class aviation storekeeper at NAS Moffett Field in Mountain View, California, until he got an honorable discharge. While he was in the military, Hammer and his roommate made music demos right in their barracks. After finishing his service, he joined a gospel hip-hop group called the Holy Ghost Boys. This mix of experiences helped shape his diverse and successful career in the music industry. Post-Navy, Hammer scored a big loan from some former A's players to start his record label, Busted Productions, which later became Bustin' Records. He dropped his debut album, Feel My Power, in 1987. Hammer's big break came in 1988 at an Oakland nightclub. A record exec noticed him and offered a multi-album deal with Capitol Records. With this deal, Hammer re-released his first album as Let's Get It Started, adding new tracks. His third album, Please Hammer Don't Hurt 'Em, dropped in 1990 and featured the mega hit You Can't Touch This, which sampled Rick James's Super Freak. That became a whole episode of the drama The Is Hammer's Life. We'll get there before Hammer's big break and his whole rags to riches to rags and back story after the Holy Ghost Boys era. Hammer and Tremaine Hawkins performed with Gibson's band at places like the Beverly Theater in Beverly Hills. They made early tracks like Word, B-Boy Chill, and Stupid Deaf Yal. Hammer also produced Son of the King, which was on his debut album Feel My Power 1986, and the re-released version Let's Get It Started 1988. Another track, The Wall, featured Hammer and was later released on Gibson's album Change of Heart 1988. Besides remixing early releases, Hammer recorded a bunch of rap songs that weren't initially released but are now online. Through his labels like Bust It Records, Oaktown Records, and Full Blast, Hammer introduced and produced new talent, including Oaktown's 3.5.7, Ho Frat Who, Special Generation, Annalise, James Greer, One Cause One Effect, B. Angie B., The Stooge Playaz, Dasset, from Ego Trip's The White Rapper Show, Teabag, Common Unity, G-Man, and Pleasure Ellis. In the mid-'80s, after some record deal drama, Hammer was grinding hard. He borrowed $20K each from ex-Oakland A's players Mike Davis and Dwayne Murphy to kickstart his own record label. As the CEO of Bust It Productions, Hammer kept the hustle alive by selling records from his basement and car. Bust It Records later became Bustin' Records, and together, they had over 100 employees. Hammer was all about that street hustle, selling his singles out of his car and promoting himself non-stop. His dance moves and style were totally unique. He dropped his debut album, Feel My Power, in 1986 on his indie label, Bustin' Records, via Oaktown Records. Produced by Felton Pilot from Con-Funk Shun, it sold over 60,000 copies, with City Hall Records distributing it. Hammer released singles like Ring 'Em in 1987, and thanks to his relentless marketing and continuous radio play, the album blew up in Bay Area dance clubs. By spring 1988, DJ Tony Valera from 107.7 KSOL was playing Let's Get It Started in his mix shows, making it a nightclub hit. Hammer even called out other big East Coast rappers like Dougie Fresh, LL Cool J, and DJ Run in the song. Feeling confident, Hammer started rehearsing 7 days a week with his growing crew of dancers, musicians, and backup singers. His stage show and infectious energy caught the eye of a record exec during a 1988 Oakland club performance. Even though Hammer had turned down major labels before, he finally signed a multi-album deal with Capitol Records, getting a $1.75 million advance. Woo! Capitol didn't take long to make back their money, thanks to Hammer's rising fame. They bet on the right horse. Obvi. This revised version of Feel My Power sold over 2 million copies. Hits like Pump It Up, Turn This Mother Out, Let's Get It Started, and They Put Me in the Mix were fire and all charted. But Hammer wasn't done yet. He wanted to switch up his sound. He said, "I decided the next album would be more musical." Some rap purists weren't happy, calling him more of a dancer than a rapper. But Hammer, rocking a leopard print bodysuit, clapped back, saying people were ready for something different. Hammer was tight with Arsenio Hall and even Vanilla Ice, despite rumors of beef. Word on the street is, it was Hammer's boys that dangled Vanilla Ice off a building, not Suga's. He debuted You Can't Touch This on the Arsenio Hall show in 1989 before it even dropped. He also performed Dancing Machine, which later featured in Please Hammer, Don't Hurt 'Em the movie, 1990. With the cash from his album, Hammer set up a rolling recording studio in his tour bus to work on his second album. In 1989, he teamed up with Glenn Goldsmith for You've Got Me Dancing, marking his first UK release, though it didn't chart. Around this time, he also formed the rap group Oaktown's 3.5.7, and they dropped the single Yeah, Yeah, Yeah from the album Wild and Loose, which hit number 9. But then, legal drama hit when Rick James sued for copyright infringement. They settled out of court, with Rick getting a co-composer credit and a cut of the profits. Despite this, Hammer kept dropping hits and even made the first hip-hop album to go diamond. In 1990, they made a movie named after Hammer's album. He even insured his legs for $10 million because, hey, they were his moneymakers. Despite all his success, Hammer faced criticism for his repetitive lyrics, clean image, and heavy sampling. Some artists mocked him, and others saw him as a sellout. His attempt at a tougher image with his 1994 album, The Funky Headhunter, wasn't taken seriously by many. Despite the jokes, Hammer was a showman who brought excitement and mainstream appeal to hip-hop. A fan even said, "He was a hip-hop superhero to me." Another fan praised his clean track record and talent. But don't be fooled by the friendly smile. Hammer was tough. Redman found this out the hard way. In 1992, Hammer was on top, but Redman dissed him on his debut album. Hammer didn't take it lightly. In a 1994 interview, Hammer called out Redman, saying he put him in his place on his album. A year later, Redman met Hammer face to face. Hammer told him, "I won't allow anyone to talk about my mother. Do you understand me?" Redman got the message and said, "Yes, sir." Redman later described Hammer as not playing around with beef and always ready to throw down. Oakland in the early 90s had several successful hip-hop acts, including Digital Underground, Too Short, and of course, Hammer. Too Short and Hammer had beef back in the day, with Short taking shots at Hammer in his songs. This beef eventually cooled down, and they even collaborated years later. Even Jay-Z wasn't safe from Hammer's wrath. Hammer released a diss track against Jay-Z, accusing him of dissing Hammer's faith. Jay-Z, though, stayed classy, saying he respected Hammer and didn't mean to offend. Hammer declared victory in the beef anyway, feeling he exposed Jay-Z's disrespect. So, MC Hammer wasn't just about the catchy beats and dance moves. He had a tough side that made him a respected and feared figure in the industry. Who knew a guy known for his parachute pants could be so hardcore? Bet hailed MC Hammer as the first big-time rapper to hit the mainstream scene thanks to his early success in hip-hop music. He was everywhere on TV and in movies, with his tunes popping up in tons of shows, films, and ads that you still see today. Hammer even starred in major ad campaigns, like those for British Knight sneakers, which scored him a jaw-dropping $138 million deal. But not everyone was cheering him on. Some folks called him a sellout for all the commercials and endorsements. Even in rap songs, like Digital Underground's The Humpty Dance, they'd joke about Hammer's flashy style. Speaking of style, Hammer was a fashion icon back in the late 80s and early 90s. He and his hype man, Too Big MC, were known for rocking those shiny suits and baggy pants, making them a hit with mainstream America. Plus, Hammer was all about giving back, starting his own charity called Help the Children right in his own neighborhood. In 1994, Mark Lamar, a British TV host, kept interrupting MC Hammer with his famous line, "Stop Hammer Time," during an interview for The Word. Hammer took it all in stride, even though Lamar was kind of poking fun at him. Lamar called him a living legend, though, so it wasn't all bad. During that interview, Hammer set the record straight about his ties to gangsta rap. He basically said he was just rolling with the times, not trying to be all tough and hardcore. Some people think this shift in style might have played a part in his fall from the top. All right, folks, we've covered a lot of ground diving into the wild ride that is MC Hammer's life and career. From his rough and humble beginnings in Oakland to his meteoric rise to fame and the controversies that followed, it's been one heck of a journey. We could keep going on and on about his legacy, how his music still gets us grooving on the dance floor, how his style influenced a generation, and how he paved the way for future hip-hop artists. But let's wrap it up here. MC Hammer wasn't just a rapper with catchy tunes and flashy pants. He was a cultural icon who left a permanent mark on the music industry. Despite the ups and downs, he stayed true to himself and his roots, always bringing his unique energy and passion to everything he did. So, here's to MC Hammer, the man who showed us that you can't touch greatness, no matter how hard you try. Thanks for the memories, the beats, and the dance moves that will live on forever. And remember, whenever life throws you a curveball, just remember what MC Hammer would say: "You can't touch this.